Welcome to this edition of the Capital Brief. I'm Seth Berensweig here at our studio at BLC Digital Strategies in Tysons, Virginia, here with our friend John Tamny, author, columnist, and great to see you.
Great to be back.
Fantastic. Well, we're here today to talk about what's next with Twitter. We're not going to be talking about so much the mechanics of the transaction. It's in, it's done. The cake has been baked. So we're going to talk about what the implications are and where things with Twitter go from here. It's one of the most powerful online platforms on the planet. Obviously, this is a really big deal and it has major implications. Just a few quick takeaways as far as the finance aspects of the deal. There's no denying that Musk is an incredibly brilliant man who has accomplished much and will continue to accomplish much with SpaceX, et cetera. In terms of what I'm seeing relative to fair market value, it looks like he paid about $44 billion for maybe about a $15 billion company right now as far as what the value is concerned. But of course, the value is in the eye of the beholder. One of the major things that we're hearing about are, of course, the major changes. As soon as Elon walked in carrying a sink into the lobby, which was kind of interesting under the caption, let that sink in. He's making a lot of changes. Let's just jump in terms of what are the implications here? What is a private Twitter run by Musk mean? What is it going to look and feel like? What are the implications on all this?
Well, it probably means what we've discussed before, that this is not about giving people like me free speech. That may be one of the things that happens, but you wouldn't take the company private. You would never pay $44 billion, nor would investment banks and all sorts of financiers finance a $44 billion deal just to give conservatives who feel hurt that they're not getting their voice out there more of a voice. And so it's clear that he's got bigger plans. I've, of course, speculated that this is a financial one, that he wants to go the crypto route, that there will be a Twitter dollar, among others, that emerges from this. That's my guess.
Wow, that's really interesting. So this is not about taking care of the fact that Mike Lindell's feelings are hurt.
No.
This is more about the pure economics, setting up a real business, and maybe setting up some kind of a crypto play. Help us understand a little bit more what you mean by that from a crypto standpoint. Just a little bit more detail. Like where do you see that going potentially?
Well, just never forget that after Zip2, which was his first big exit, that he pulled $21 million from the sale of that to Compaq Computer back in the 90s. And he took the 13 million of that and plowed it into X.com. And his plan with X.com was to make it a global online supermarket, a financial supermarket. Ultimately, it merged with what became PayPal, and essentially he had that business taken from him. He was the head of it. The board moved on him, and so he made a lot of money off of PayPal, but he did not get to finish the job. Elon Musk, when he makes money on things, doesn't just use it to spend. He uses it to invest in new ideas. So one would speculate from this that he's got expansive plans for Twitter, and it strikes me this is a global brand.
Right.
This is going to be his chance to basically finish the job that he wanted to finish with X.com.
It's really interesting. I think aside from all the dramatics of this is really an interesting opportunity to see what happens to a global brand and one of the most powerful social media platforms on the planet that would be going from being run by perhaps one of the most incompetent, most feeble management teams that I've ever seen run a major company to being run by a person who, certainly has his own unique aspects of how he does things, but you can't deny that the guy is brilliant and that he's accomplished great things with great companies. So did he overpay for it? I think so. But at the end of the day, if anybody can afford to do that, he can. So it'll be really fun and interesting to see where this goes. Some updates in terms of what's happened over the last day or two after he walks in the building. He terminated all of the high-level executives. He fired the CEO. The CEO is entitled, because it makes no business sense whatsoever, the CEO is entitled to severance that in aggregate is worth over $50 million. Musk goes in and he issues a statement saying that he is not going to pay that severance because he's going to treat this executive as having been fired for cause. And I doubt he's going to win that argument. If executives leave, and you can say that they're terminated for cause just because they did a bad job, then you're going to get a lot of total flip-flopping of what it means to separate somebody for cause. Cause is usually some kind of an intentional wrongful act. I don't think he's going to win that argument, but I think at least he's going to present the argument, and he likes to do that. There are some other changes that he's expressing where he says he's going to try to moderate the content. One of the things that I find interesting in terms of the topic is that he is trying to create a revenue model. He's talking about charging $8 a month, for the blue check to verify. Do you think that although there has been probably too much talk about trying to make this a more fair and less toxic platform, and I agree with you that that's been overplayed, do you think that there's going to be some attention that has to be ascribed to that? Because in order to run a business, you need to have some kind of an advertising model, and you're not going to be able to run a viable advertising model over a snake pit. Do you think, at least from a monetary standpoint, that's going to make sense for him to try to put some kind of effort into?
Well, sure. You're going to have to do something. The blue check mark thing is just, to me, that's just publicity. Mm-hmm. That's just free advertising. To pretend that that's going to change the valuation one way or the other is just laughable. I mean,
yeah.
So that, again, I think he's good at generating attention, which is what matters. My guess is that there is value to having freer speech, but I just think that both sides have completely made this a mockery of what it actually is. The left wanted all sorts of viewpoints that they didn't like to be canceled or censored.
Right.
But to censor is to amplify. Furthermore, there was probably some good arguments coming that were censored, but every time you do that, you amplify what you're trying to hide. We know more about Hunter Biden precisely because they, quote, censored it than if they had done nothing, which explains where the right has become. The conservatives are victims of everything, and they don't want to allow us to talk on Twitter. Right. But the reality is I'm a member of the right, and everyone I know has a Twitter presence, and they've got exponentially more followers than I do. So spare me the notion that all this time they were shut out of Twitter. Every right-wing organization and individual has a Twitter strategy. So I think both sides have overplayed it, and he knows this is not the plan. If it's part of it to free up a little speech, good, but please, let's not pretend that this is what he's going to do.
Yeah, I think that you're helping me make sense of something, John, that I, up until today, and until I've gotten your help in hearing your viewpoint on this, which I think is always unique, you're helping me understand an aspect of this deal that up until this moment I did not understand. What I did not understand is why a successful entrepreneur, a brilliant entrepreneur, engineer, thinker like Elon Musk, that can change the EV market, that can change the whole aspect of how we put satellites in space, would want to get mired and mucked down into the snake pit of political fighting. Why would he go into that kind of a cauldron of distraction and to have to deal with something like that rather than try to make money? And I think the point that you're raising, which is really interesting and that goes to a level that I just haven't heard in mainstream media, is to say, take a step back and take a more practical, realistic, less hypersensitive view of what exactly that he's trying to do here. Because if you are looking at this as him trying to make this the world's most perfectly monitored water cooler on social media, then it's really confusing. But the point that you're making is, tone down the drama, tone down the temperature. If this is a business move to try to create value out of something that a previously incompetent managerial team was unable to do, and that he's going to go in there and he's going to make plays from an economic perspective that's going to be completely new, completely fresh, and that's going to add new value to the company, to the economy, to the crypto space, maybe that's the lens to look at it, that where this is starting to make a lot more sense. So where do you see the company going next? If we're going to look out ahead and we're going to see how the company's going to look a year from now, I know there's a crack in your crystal ball, but what do you see as far as the future of Twitter in the near term?
Well, I'd like to go back a little on that.
Sure.
every new business, let's never forget, is a miracle. And PayPal was a miracle. Zip2 is a miracle. He nearly went broke on Tesla. He nearly went broke on SpaceX. And so understand, it strikes me why he went for Twitter is, in this case, it wouldn't be a miracle if it succeeded. The business is already there. The brand is global. It's a remarkable success story from a global use thing. Why not, for once, start on second or third base rather than start at home plate, hoping against all odds that you've got another home run in you? Why not hit a grand slam from another base? So that's so you start from there. What's it going to look like? Isn't that why he's taking it private? He's got plans for it that we're probably going to hear and say, wow, I didn't expect that. My sense that there's a private money aspect to this, that there's a global financial supermarket aspect to this. But I also think that if we really knew, we'd be billionaires. What he's going to do is going to surprise us, hence taking it private. And so it's going to look it has to look very different, because he is his best form of advertising. The way to build the brand is he's going to surprise us. But my sense is he's going to do some things that we kind of look askance at and think, wait, what? But that's what entrepreneurs do.
And I think it's exciting. I see a smaller, lighter, leaner Twitter. I don't know why he announced that he's going to put a meat axe to 75% of the company, because even the remaining 25% are going to be pretty nervous with that. But honestly, downsizing is just part of life in capitalist America. So that just kind of falls under the category of it is what it is. I think you're going to see a smaller company. You're going to see a profitable company. You're going to see new ideas. I do think that with all the good will come some of the bad. I think we see every month hot online social media controversies. Be it, forget about Donald Trump. Now we're seeing things happening with Kanye West. How do you draw the line? It's going to be hard for him to avoid that controversy from a complete standpoint, but I agree with you that I think it's going to go to some really exciting directions. Our producer, Todd Castleberry, had a really cool idea on the show. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We thought it would be neat to look at a handful of some of Mr. Musk's recent tweets and just take a little bit of a view of what's going on. All right, John, let's take a look at some of Elon's latest tweets here just to see what's going on inside the funhouse. First of all, I like his new image. I see a little kid on the phone. I don't know whether that's him or not, but it's kind of cool. Twitter's current lords and peasants system for who has or doesn't have a blue check mark is bullshit. Power to the people. Blue for $8 a month. Your thoughts?
Very clever. Again, he knows how to get advertising that and notoriety that he otherwise wouldn't get. It's true. Those who have the blue check mark have it's almost an embarrassing thing to have, because some people have it and you're thinking, why would you have it? No one knows who you are.
Well, it's kind of an elite thing.
It's basically an acquired elitism that makes you look like a clown. And so I think it is a good way to tweak people and again make a story out of something, because who has the blue check marks? The very people who will give you publicity.
Yeah, exactly. And power to the people. You have to give him credit. He's very smart. He knows how to be able to drive messaging. He was doing it in such a way during the Delaware litigation that was actually becoming a chunk of the case. But power to the people. I think you and I agree. This is a little bit on the marketing side. It's a little bit more marketing relevant than message relevant. But I think the messaging is really interesting. And this is him being clever. And frankly, if it's a way to add some revenue, why the heck not? Let's look at a continuation of the thread off of the first slide. We have Elon on top saying Twitter speaks to the inner masochist in all of us. And then he goes down the thread talking about how he can say to companies, quote, please continue complaining, but it will cost you $8. Totally stole the idea of charging for insults and arguments from Monty Python. I'm going to recommend that everybody pull this and look at this clip from Monty Python. It's hilarious. And what I will just simply tell you is it's a clip of an idea where someone pays to have an argument. and there's a person in the room, John Cleese here, that actually will say, okay, fine, if you pay me, let's have an argument. So what are your thoughts on this strand here?
Yeah, I think it speaks to, once again, his ability to build a brand for free. Some people
Right.
have that skill. Look at how Donald Trump ran for president on a shoestring, and I think we're seeing this here. This is what keeps him in the news, keeps Twitter in the news, particularly when you tweak the most visible people on your platform. That is easily the best way to keep in the public eye. So,
and when you
makes
talk
sense.
about being in the public eye, Elon has over 113 million followers on this platform. On this one alone, you have over 736,000 hearts and almost 87,000 retweets. So obviously, that's a lot of traction going all over the planet. It really just can't stop striking me how there's going to be some real opportunities and some real challenges here for Elon Musk. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a bumpy ride. There's going to be a lot of challenges ahead. In conclusion, John, if you were going to give Elon one piece of advice, if he was sitting here having coffee with us, and I know he's a pretty smart guy, and I know you're a humble guy, so you're going to say, well, I can't give him advice, but I think you can. If you were going to give him one piece of advice on how to be able to maximize this opportunity over the next year, what would you tell him to do with Twitter?
My advice would be that everything else you've done has been impossible, so make sure that your goals are similarly impossible here. It's understood that maybe you don't want to pull another miracle out of your hat, but that's what we expect from you, and probably in a sense that's what the market expects from you.
Yeah, I think that's great. My advice to him would be, if you're going to set up a moderation panel, don't follow Mark Zuckerberg. Some of the early indications of what Musk is doing is he's going to be setting up a moderation panel, and he's considering following some of the models and some of the structuring of Facebook, which is now called Meta. I would say if he's going to look for a model to follow, don't follow Mark Zuckerberg. But this is going to be really interesting. There'll be a lot happening here, and thanks, John, for helping us break it down.
Thank you.